Agenda at all for this one, so I'll keep it brief for you all. But my name is Jeff Screenis. I'm the housing director for the Hawthorne Neighborhood Council, and I'm just so grateful for the work that you all are doing today and the work that's happened all week long here. This is just phenomenal. One of our residents, Peter Teachout, no longer lives in the neighborhood because he took an easier position in the United States Armed Forces, and so he's in Georgia right now. He was our board chair for a long time, and he was one of the people who was calling 911 incessantly on all the nefarious activities that were happening here before we managed to turn things around. And people retaliated against him. His truck was set on fire. And he, at that point, turned to his wife and he said, you know, your safety, our safety is more important than anything. If you want to leave, we'll leave. If that means we take a hit on our house, or if that means we have to walk away and have a foreclosure, we'll do that if that's what you want, but we need to be safe for you and for our children. And a lot of people talk about Peter and how strong he was when they decided to stay. But his wife Joanne needs some credit too, because when he said that, she said, well, what about Pam? What about Valeria? If we leave, who's going to be there for our neighbors? And so it was that strength and that selflessness that really epitomizes what we're all about here, and I think what you all are about as well and why you're here. So thank you for that. Peter asked me to share a few words at some point this week, and he wrote this up. I changed things a little bit just so that it's clear it's his words and not mine. But other than that, this is what Peter wanted to share with you all and with anybody else who happens to see this, and he wanted you all to understand how much this means to him. This is called A Neighborhood by Officer Candidate Peter Teachout. What makes a neighborhood? Do residents of an average community really know the answer to this question? A student of the law asked a famous person one time, who's my neighbor? And that important person responded with a story. The story took place at a certain time, in a certain country, a long time before cars and modern technology, where most people walked from place to place. There were no policemen or emergency medical services to respond to life's emergencies. And without this modern infrastructure, there were thieves and robbers that liked to waylay travelers and had to walk from one city to the next. On a certain day, a man was traveling between towns by himself. He was a merchant onto the next market to sell his wares. On the way, he was robbed, beaten, and left for dead. While lying there, many people passed him by, not caring to see what was wrong with him, or even if he was still alive. One man stopped and saw that the merchant was lying there bleeding, and being rather wealthy himself, he didn't want to stop and help. He was worried about getting robbed himself and hurried on his way. Other people had similar excuses. They were scared, they were too busy, or they had small children and didn't want to put them in danger. Then a few hours later, a man came by who had no high-class upbringing. He didn't have unlimited resources, and he also had his own family to protect. But he did not have to neglect them in order to help this poor and beaten merchant. He came to the victim and checked to see what he could do to help. He was still alive. The man did what he could to bind the wounds, and he helped him onto his pack mule, where he took the merchant to the next town, paid for his room, and gave the innkeeper money to care for the merchant so he could recover in peace. Now, in many ways, this well-known story is a picture of North Minneapolis. For many years, North Minneapolis has been that broken or robbed merchant lying on the side of the road. And people would say, oh, no, I would never live there. Or to those who did live here, they would say, what, you live where? Never dreaming that they should use part of the life that was given to them to benefit those around them. For those of us who are gathered here today are different. We saw something that was wrong with this picture, and we've endeavored to fix it. It has taken some of us longer than others to get involved in the endeavor and impact change. Now, Peter lived in the community for about 4 or 5 years before he really got serious about doing something about what was happening. It was about maybe the 100th time that his wife turned to him and said, we should not have to live like this. This is not normal. That's when he finally buckled down and he resolved that he wouldn't rest until his corner on 31st and 6th was safe for his wife and his children. And now that bubble of civil immorality is starting to grow. The success of Hawthorne and other communities around North Minneapolis is starting to grow like a vine on a brick wall. They have been small and weak at first, but soon North Minneapolis will be a network of strength for generations to come. When you remember the way things used to be, and when you're telling new residents of these newly remodeled homes who used to do what, where their house is now, and what it used to be like, remember those that have lived here the longest and who have suffered the most. Get to know them and show them respect and reach out to them. Remember that those of us who have lived here through it all, we have done more than just struggle against an imposing force that seemed greater than ourselves. But because of that struggle, we have access to strength far greater than we could have ever imagined. And we have learned how to be neighbors. Thank you for being a part of that with us.
Thanks, Steve, for all the inspiration and work that you've done through your organizations. It's certainly an inspiration to all of us for the work that we're doing. One of the things I wanted to do is introduce